Hello, and welcome. This is Ben, part of Essence Plays, and today we've got a unique piece of content for the channel. It is going to be my game review of 2024. In total, we played 9 games over the year, all the way from the inception, so learning the game, the basics of the game, all the way to completion, and you saw my journey along the way. And I think I'm going to base a lot of my opinions today based on those playthroughs, so you'll see why I've made these statements, why I feel this way about the game, and then I'm going to try and tear them at the end. So if you are tempted to try one of the 9 titles, you can use this as maybe a little bit of a gauge if you're willing to dabble into that. This is just the start of the channel. It's been a hugely successful year for the channel, and 2025 I will continue to bring many more games focused on a blend between indie, strategy, RPG and the such, and I'm really looking forward to it, if I'm honest. This year has been overwhelming in regards to how it's been. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you for that. But otherwise, if you want to see what my game review is about, stay tuned and I will go straight into the content and how we're going to score that. This is where it begins. I'm going to have a chart, and you've seen these tier lists before. I was going to put it online, but because there's not many titles, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a waste of time. But this is the general sliding scale. You got the S tier, which is very good, highly recommended, all the way from good, decent, okay, and kind of meh, really. I will go through some criteria about how I'm going to score those. I'm just going to score them out of I think it's a total score of 12.5, which will make sense in a second, given a grand total, and then we'll look to score that in the end. But before I go into that, I just wanted to say thank you for 10,000 subscribers. We started the year around 900 subscribers in total, and I was so happy with that. It was overwhelming. The channel's only been going for, I think it's about a year and a half so far. So turn of the year in 2024, I was pleased with 900. The engagement was amazing. The feedback, overall, everything, I was so happy with it. At the time, I was just really playing City Skylines, and I was fearful, if I deviate away from that content, is people going to stick around? And apparently so. I've really enjoyed the journey so far. I didn't expect to be around 10,000 subscribers. I expected far away from that. And I hope I can continue to entertain and provide good, interesting gaming content. Like I said, I don't just focus on a particular title or genre. I try and mix it up, and I play games that I enjoy. And I think that's the main thing. So this is just to you. Thank you for 10,000. And hopefully we can absolutely smash that next year. But yeah, your overwhelming support has been incredible. And yes, I would, again, say thank you. Now, into the actual content which you're actually here for. I'm going to score on these 5 areas. I'm going to focus on the challenge of the game itself. What is the learning curve? Is it built for, I guess, hardcore audiences? Is there any tutorials? How hard is it to pick up? And then overall, once you've picked up the game, how much of a sliding scale is that? Does it AI, does that challenge you, or is it too easy? Can you manipulate the AI to make the game easier? So we're going to focus on the challenge firstly. Secondly is your art style, graphics. How beautiful is it? Is it unique? Is it different? Self-explanatory, really. How friendly is it to the casuals? Can you just pick up this game and just get going, or is it very much you have to absorb a fraction of your time every single day to keep ahead of the curve? A lot of games, especially online-only games, have that kind of gimmick. So this is really focused as, can you just pick up this game, play it for an hour, play it for 2 hours, and then drop it? Hopefully self-explanatory on that one as well. Fourthly, is bugs. Naturally, this is going to be more prevalent in the games that I review, because I like to pick up the early access games or the indie titles that don't have the massive budget, so there will be kind of strange bugs in there sometimes, or crashes. So fourthly, I'm going to focus on bugs. And then lastly, I think super important for games, is replay value. Is it a game that you can complete and put down for maybe a couple of months and pick it back up and have a very similar experience, maybe change up a few things? So fifthly is replay value. So overall, you can get a grand score out of 25. So if you're a worldy title, you could get 25, and that's like going to be S tier. Won't surprise you that I don't think any games on the list are 25 out of 25. Actually, that'll probably be God tier if it's that. But that's how I'm going to score all the games. Hope that makes sense, and I'll talk through each title in a bit of detail and see where we get up to. So without any further ado, let's go into the first game. First game on the list is City Skylines 2. one of the biggest games on my channel, the most uploaded to. So it isn't a particular surprise. I will be sure of that from the community, and it's a game which has a very special place in my heart. It's a continuation from City Skylines 1, which I put at least 200 hours into, if not more. If I checked Steam, I'd be probably reminiscent of the time that I spent in that game. So I was very excited for I guess a sequel of one of my most favorite games. Overall, I think the launch didn't go particularly well. That's a number of things didn't sit well with the community. The modding support, the graphic optimization, the lack of assets and I guess the reuse of assets really got people the wrong way. How they handled some of the DLC content and how they released that did not go down well. So I think the actual launch of the game hampered the ability and the enthusiasm from the community, which is a shame. When it comes to actual graphics, if once it all was fixed, I think are an upgrade from City Skylines 1. Some of the challenges with City Skylines 2 over City Skylines 1 was the addition of the service buildings and the services of those districts. That was quite a big learning curve for the overall community, I guess. But I think it was a really good addition instead of just coming bloated, just putting service buildings everywhere. So I think it was a really cool addition. And it means that you can expand out to your regions without just restricting the ability to grow your town. When it comes to difficulty, the budgets needed a lot of work, and they have been reworked a number of times in the last couple of months since launch. I think overall the City Skylines titles aren't too hard. It's all about the creativity, really, and growing your town and seeing it thrive. That's where the difficulty in this game is. It shouldn't be an overly difficult game. But I suppose if you're coming into City Skylines 2 from City Skylines 1, it isn't a big change. But I feel like if you're coming into City Skylines 2 new, it's going to be a pretty huge learning curve overall. So, and then when it comes to bugs, there were a few bugs. The biggest one was the graphics optimization at the launch, which got a lot of bad publicity. That has now overall been improved. I wouldn't say it's finished. There's lots more to be done. But overall, I think the game has huge potential, particularly with the DLCs that they got coming out. I think there's possibility with the different regions, focusing on like European regions, European assets. I think it is a huge potential in the game. And I'm glad to see in the last kind of couple of months much more strong mod support to the community. And those modders are now come out in force and shown huge potential in the game. So, overall, I'm happy with the direction now. City Skylines 2 has gone. I started out being quite disappointed from the launch, and I think many of us did as well. But, that's where my overall score is. I feel the game has a strong future, and I'm excited to see this game on the list in 2025. The second game on my list, and it shouldn't be a particular surprise to anybody based on the last game, is City Skylines 1. One of my all-favourite games. Would I say of all time? I must say, yeah, of all time. I think it's one of the best city builders out there, without a shadow of a doubt. Even now to this age, I still sometimes go on City Skylines 1 and play it. It has got a special place in my heart, so I have to sometimes step back and not be nostalgic too much. But it got me hooked just because of how unique and special it was. And I think that was around... There was no other game out there. It developed on top of what I call the SimCity evolution, and it took it to the next level with districts and the optimization. And it just felt like a real town that you could evolve and grow with ever-growing difficulty. When you first start out in City Skyline ones, it's like, oh, this is easy. But once you've got a city of 10,000, then you have to optimize your traffic and transportation and districts and popularity and services and money. I don't have many bad things to say about the game. And then if you add on to that the mod community, the overall community in general, the mods added an extra layer of that. And it felt like the publisher loved, or the developer, loved the game. And they gave that back in spades to the City Skylines modding community there. So if I'm going to review it, replay value, very, very strong. You could replay it to your heart's content. You can do one city in a certain way and in another. You could be disastrous and go crazy. When it comes to gameplay, exceptionally strong. And yeah, there's huge potential there. When it comes to graphics at the time, it was heavily above its time. Nowadays, it looks quite dated with the new graphics out there, especially if you compare it to City Skylines 2. But the graphics at the time were really strong. Bug-wise, there were a few little minor bugs, but nothing to really complain about. And I think that was just because the continuous modding community. And I think the mods added an extra layer to it, such as like traffic optimization, different assets, and different maps. It just added a different flavor to it. So my overall score will reflect it, but I think this game is top tier, and I will take some convincing for me to change that opinion. So City Skyline 1, a very strong place in my heart, and strong on the list too. The third game on my list is Kingdoms and Castles. This was a unique, and I think it was the first game I used to step away from the City Skylines genre. It takes a block style city builder, resource, and kind of optimization. So you got workers and job priorities. You also have to think about military and happiness. Lots of things that make this game quite unique. The overall graphics of it, I haven't seen in any other titles. I thought it was quite cute and cozy, extremely casual friendly, so you can just jump into it and play. You can play it in peaceful mode, you can play it in quite aggressive mode, so you're getting attacked by Vikings and dragons. The difficulty of the game, I wouldn't say it's too difficult. It can be gimmicked a bit, particularly with the invasions. You can kind of bug out the invasions if you add like a weakness in your base, and you can kind of funnel it through there, because the AI basically they base it on can they land and stuff like that. So it actually can be gamified to an extent where it's quite easy. Bug wise, I didn't experience any bugs. And I racked my brain for a while going, did I experience any bugs? And I think the only thing that I experienced, I think it was once or twice, was a few crashes. And I think that's down to my PC, not the game itself. So, yeah, the game is very well polished for an indie title. It's got a really good, unique art direction. It's not too difficult, so it's very casual friendly. And there's huge replay value. Because the difficulty is a sliding scale. You can have invasions, winters, hard winters, stuff like that. So, yeah, very strong contender for the list, and a really great title for 2024 for the channel. Fourth game that I'm going to look at is Manor, one of the most modern on the list, I'd say. Recently coming out into early access, and this is a title which was on my wish list, and probably many strategic or city building enthusiasts was on their list too. Why I was excited about this game? Multiple. The graphics and the style in medieval area got me super excited. I like the idea of building your own kingdom from an early settlement into a thriving empire. It had an element of military to it, which I'll talk on to a second. But there's multiple reasons why I was excited to it. So if I start driving into it, graphically, I think it was one of the most beautiful city builders I've seen for a while. A very unique style, really immerses you into the age of the game, medieval times. There was a few things that I was frustrated about the graphics, and that was just because of everything just seemed the same, and that leads into kind of what I'd say the replay value of the title. Once you played it through once and you completed the game, there was no reason to go back because everything was the same. Particularly around the city builders, you kind of just got used to it after a while, which is a bit frustrating. And I'm hoping over time they add more maps and I guess more uniqueness to those maps. Maybe different parts of England. That could be on the coast. That could be in Scotland with the mountains or stuff like that. To make it more of an immersive experience where you can maybe ambush some bandits or the AI. So yeah, I think although the graphics were good, I was quite disappointed about the reuse of it, and I'm hopefully that will change over time. But that I understand that goes on to the second point is the gameplay. The gameplay was strong. I was really happy to see like the development trees and the policy trees, and not allowing you to kind of snowball into the game. So you can just get every single policy and just optimize to your eyeballs. And there's no challenge. The challenge really is developing in multiple regions with different resource categories and prioritization. So you have to use trade and such to develop your settlement. So I thought the gameplay in that element was good. But the thing that I think is lackluster, and I know they are looking to change that, is the military. Once you've got to a certain size of military, there is no real challenge to it, really, apart from the last ever kind of once you conquer a region and you get the final army from the AI. That's maybe a bit challenging, but you've been gatekept. You can't go anymore. You can't get more military. You're restricted. You can't improve their armor, their weaponry or stuff. So there's a different limitation in the gameplay, and that links into the difficulty. Once you understand the basics of Manor Lords, it isn't too hard. It's all around making sure you got the right kind of, I guess, food resources. Then you focus on your trade, and from there it gets really easy. It's a bit frustrating with the bandits that just randomly come into your town and steal your resource when you're beginning, because it's like, I didn't see anybody coming to Mount, so that could be a little bit more realistic. But yeah, there isn't any particular massive difficulty with this game, which is fine. But you have to have more diverse content to make it enticing for people to replay. And then lastly, around the bugs, it's early access, so I'm not going to be too harsh on them. There is a fair few bugs, but I'm going to be really, really complimentary to the team. They fix them really quickly. If you're in their Discord, you see how immersed and how really passionate they are to set up and fix bugs. But also, they've got a real good release cycle. Every single update is a new feature. They just added fishing. They're adding more features over time. And you can see the gatekeeping some features. If you go into the military, you can see some additions, such as Armob, which is currently locked because it's not available right now. But there is future growth. So it's something to get excited about. So overall, I think Manor Lords has a huge potential. It's not going to be the highest on the list just because it's still early access. There's lots more content to come. But I think Manor Lords, in the next couple of years, watch this space, is probably going to be the most played strategy game in the medieval times because it's got absolute huge potential. And I'm excited to see where it goes. The fifth game on the list is definitely not fried chicken. And this was 100% a gimmick for me. It reminds me very much of Breaking Bad, and which is the reason why it must have been suggested by Steam, because I didn't naturally find it, but I thought, oh, this adds a little bit of like a strategic oversight, a bit of a business tycoon type of thing, but it brings in kind of the drug empire kind of gimmick, really. So I got really enticed into it, and I was overall pleased with how it went. I think overall, once you start moving past the first factory into other products, it gets quite interesting how you optimize your logistics, your transportation, your research points, your employees. It has like has a quite a big ceiling when it comes to the actual game itself. But that being said, I'm just going to think about the replay value. There's probably very little replay value. Once you've completed the game all the way, there's no real reason to go back to it because you've done it all before. There's no real challenge because you've done all the products. You've completed the game. You know what challenges are going to come in for. You know the best, the best items to buy. You know the gimmicks when it comes to bribes and stuff. So overall, the replay value is quite weak, but the gameplay is strong because it is quite fun to play for the first time. It doesn't really hold your hand all the way. It gives you tutorials at the start, but then it's like fend for yourself, figure it out, use your money wisely, set up legitimate businesses, sort out distribution. You don't really know how to do that. So I thought actually with that aspect, it had really decent replay, decent gameplay overall. So I was happy about that. Graphically, I think it was more on the weaker side. You can tell that it's quite blocky. But it wasn't. I don't believe so. Anyway, the game was aiming to be a hugely graphically focused game. It was more about the gimmick itself, around putting you into how to build a huge drug empire. So, that overall, I have to be a little bit more lenient. But yeah, graphically, it isn't the best. And it's hard to get around. There isn't like a mini map so you can see where your things are. So it is quite sometimes frustrating to get around the game. I've already talked about difficulty. I don't think there's any particular difficulty with this title. The only difficulty really is if you don't play the bribes, you get attacked. But you can actually you probably saw it in my playthrough. You can gimmick it a bit. You can create funnels for the criminals or the police to get through, and you can just shoot them down. So difficulty-wise, it isn't that difficult. It's kind of more time-kept. You would depend on money more than anything. So that's the only thing that's really holding you back on this game is the money and the research points. And lastly is bugs. I noticed when I started to get into the late game, it started to get much more slower. So once you got like 4 different factories with 16 different distribution delivery drivers, it got really slow. So I don't know if graphically it's not been optimized to that level, but my PC certainly struggled when it got to that point. But when it comes to crashes, there wasn't a massive amount of bugs. I think the only bug that I encountered was staff just randomly getting stuck and dying for whatever reason, even though everything was available. So that was a bit frustrating, especially if you know it's happened. And then the last one is probably the bug where people just randomly step in traps and die. It's like, come on. So I had to obviously fit everybody out with the right boots so they don't get blown up with our own traps. So overall, not the strongest game on the list, but a really good contender for last year. I was happy that I played through and I was able to complete the game, and I'm sure you enjoyed it too. Next game on our list is Memoriapolis. I always butcher that name, and I will continue to do so till my dying breath. Good game overall, graphically nice little features, a unique take on city building. It's more focused on, I guess, memorable buildings is the best word to say, based on culture and stuff like that. So you don't build houses, you don't build all that kind of stuff. It's actually organically grown, which is quite a unique take on the genre. You have different ages to develop through, and you are restricted by time, which I found a bit frustrating, and we'll go on to the reasons in a second. But I sometimes wanted to play through and complete the age. I wanted to get my town to a certain pinnacle. I wanted to build it out, and then it just like, nope, there you go. You have to move to the next stage. I'm like, oh, okay. Gameplay value wasn't particularly challenging. The only challenge really is juggling the different factions within your town and making sure they all are particularly happy. But there's no military, there's no combat, there's no consequences when it comes to lack of funds or lack of money. So overall, the gameplay I felt was lacking. It is early access. I forgot to mention that. So I do hope and pray there's more development in this game to make it more replayable over time. So if I just go through kind of the overall areas that I want to focus on, starting with that replay value, I only played it a couple of times. I completed it, and I kind of just, there was no reason for me to go back. The challenge wasn't there. I felt a bit frustrated that you're forced to do the ages at your time. The time restriction really frustrated me. Like I said, I wanted to get my improvements. I probably would have stayed in one age and got a really good town and get it optimized and get everybody happy and stuff like that. But no, the game just wanted to basically, it is a reset. When you move to a new age, everything just resets and you get a new kind of age, and then you have to focus on your culture again and your buildings, and it's like, okay, and then it's same again. So there was no, I didn't feel close to my town. Sometimes when I'm talking about City Skylines 1 or 2 or other games that I'm reviewing today, I felt a bit of closeness to my town, but because it kept on changing and there was no real investment into my town, I just felt a bit of like disconnection. So there was no real reason to me to go back. And the gameplay itself, because it didn't really have any particular challenges aside from the resourcing, the challenge I came into was the lack of food, and I just needed to upgrade my farms, and that was it. There's nothing else of challenge. There's no combat. There's nobody invading your lands. There was no military aspect to the game, which I think was a shame, being the era that it's in. Graphically, I must say, it's a beautiful game. Beautiful to look at. Just pause the game and zoom in and check the uniqueness of the buildings and see your town organically grow and change over time. I thought that was a really cool piece for it. So yeah, it's an overall beautiful game, but the challenge and the gameplay I think was lacking. And then bug-wise, there wasn't many bugs, if I'm honest. It crashed a few times. I think the optimization, once your town starts to grow, did start to have its impact on my overall PC, but that could just be because my PC. I'll be interested to see if anybody else had the same issues. But the more developed in the game and the more features and buildings I put down, the slower I noticed the game just not grinding to a halt, but it was just there was a lag there. So I don't know if it's been optimized yet throughout the ages. So overall, this game isn't a strong one on the list. It's something to watch for the future and see how it goes on. So that is my overall review of the game. Next game on the list is Pharaoh, A New Era. This is a remake of the classic Pharaoh from my childhood, and it is very, very similar. The graphics have been HD'd or optimized. I don't know what the word is to use. So you can see that, and the graphics are not too dissimilar from the original, but it's been cleaned up and sharpened. The overall gameplay of the title is, I think, identical. I'm trying to think if there's any difference from the original. So when it comes to service buildings and trade and just general production buildings and such, everything is very similar. There's a few additional resources they have added to the game to make it a little bit more different, but overall it is extremely similar, which isn't a bad thing. It's reminiscent of the original, and trying to give as much respect to the original as possible. But I can't give it like massive ratings because it is a remake. Artistic direction, overall, it's a pretty game, especially once you've got a thriving town where everything kind of just been upgraded, and you got the villas and you got your glossy white buildings going on throughout. I think it's a beautiful game to look at, but overall it doesn't do anything different from the original. Overall, difficulty wise, it's not particularly challenging. Once you understand trade, you're pretty much nailed on. You can buy and sell resources to your heart's content. You can get a ridiculous income from your import and export trade. The military is pretty poor, if I'm honest. There is a complete lack of military. It can be gamed a quite amount. So yeah, overall, I think the difficulty just isn't there. Even going through the campaign, every campaign is very similar. It's just time gated. So once you get to the end campaigns like we have, it's gated behind a monument, which takes ages to build, and then it's done, game over. So yeah, the challenge, there isn't any particular challenge there. And then bug-wise, I haven't noticed many bugs, if I'm honest, so far. Probably the only bug that I've noticed recently is the Kingdom Road. If you change the Kingdom Road and you get lots of warnings, but you can still play the game. So it's like, why do you need to tell me about that? Just keep it the way it is. So yeah, overall, quite a bug-free game, but because it's a remake of a title, it would be quite wild if they had or they introduced lots of bugs. So yeah, overall, my score isn't a particular favourable one. It's a game that is reminiscent of my childhood, so I'm biased naturally. But if I was going into the title as a fresh player, it doesn't really give me loads. It's just a nice game to play. It's casual friendly, and you can just pick it up whenever. So overall, yeah, that's my opinion on the game. The second to last game on the list is Game Dev Tycoon, which takes a twist on game development. You build your own studio, you develop your own games, you develop your own game engine. You hire staff to make better games. You optimize and build new genres. You got marketing. You got different technologies. You got consoles. I think it's quite a cool game. Obviously, I'm biased because I love games and I love studios, I love technology. So I think it's a pretty cool take on a Tycoon game. Of course, the graphics are quite basic. You're stuck to that one screen. There's not really any moving around on it. So the graphics are pretty basic, if I'm honest. But that being said, there's quite strong replay value. If you want to build your own strong dev team, which is focused on design, you want to build the best design-friendly games, you can keep playing through. It's just like a very casual, focused game. And I guess most Tycoons are like that as well. The overall gameplay, I think there isn't anything much there, if I'm honest. From a gameplay perspective, it just lacks that oomph to take it to that next level, because you are restricted to that one screen. It's all about numbers and picking the right kind of research and areas to focus on. So yeah, the gameplay I feel like is lacking. From a graphical, I've already kind of touched on the graphics in that direction. Difficulty wise, it isn't that difficult. It's just making sure the sliders are selected correctly once you do your game. You could run out of money if you get a little bit more cavalier, which I did, but overall, if you take it slow, it's a really easy game to get to. They have a final score, so if you get through the game, you develop things lots, you can get on the leaderboard. But yeah, there isn't anything massive to that. Unfortunately, the community around the game is close to non-existent. They've tried to develop a few add-ons for the game to make it a little bit more friendly. So the UI and seeing your competitors in the market, which would be really cool. Understanding your finances a little bit more, because you don't really have any detail about how you're doing, which is quite frustrating sometimes. But overall, the difficulty isn't there. Bug-wise, yeah, it's quite low on bugs for a game, but it's been polished and it's not early access anymore. It's been out for a while, so I wouldn't expect many bugs to it. So overall, not the strongest game on the list, but it's something to play in your own time. Like I said, it's very casual friendly. You can play it on your laptop, and you can just play it on your lap while you're watching a movie, for example. That's how casual friendly it is. And the last and final game on the list is Norland, and this is the most recent on the channel that I've been uploading, and I've been pleasantly surprised with the game. And it's very much modelled off RimWorld. So if you're a RimWorld lover, this would probably be a game for you. Gives you real strong character development and role playing potential. It is still early access, so there's lots of features still to come out, and I feel like there's potential development of the regions, the maps, the characters, more buildings and such. But yeah, I think the strong sense to your character is a real big pull for this. You can optimize it, like I've optimized it on the Vikings TV series, and I got really close to like Ragnar, and building his character arc. So I thought it was a really cool game in that aspect. So, I feel like that had a real strong pull to it. The difficulty, it's a sliding scale, so you can be like really peaceful and build out a peaceful settlement. Or you can go more combat heavy, which I did, and it brings a lot of challenges with it, such as assassins and like kings going after your crown and inner turmoil in your camp and your lords and stuff. So yeah, it's got different sliding scales, which I really like, so you can opt to whichever you prefer. And yeah, overall, I've been really pleasant with the game. So yeah, when it comes to replay value, I think because of the character development, you can change it around. You can be different cultures and settlements and change things around. Maybe be a warlord or be a real trade focused person. Invite people into your alliance. There's lots of potential to the game. So I think replay value is quite strong. Gameplay. I love this type of game where you can kind of get really close to your settlement and optimize it and get close to your lords and see what they're up to and make them into, like, build a lore around your town and your characters. I think it's really cool. Artistic wise, obviously it's not got a unique artistic style. It's based on it is purely based on the RimWorld concept. You can tell it already. But I think they've changed it around based on the time and the like medieval times, effectively. They gave it a unique twist. So I'm not going to score it unfavorably because of that, but I'm not going to score it like high marks because it's got the kind of very similar concept as RimWorld. Bug-wise, I haven't encountered many bugs, if I'm honest. Maybe that's just because I haven't played it for hundreds of hours yet. But it's a type of game which, because it is early access, it has a little bit more flexibility when it comes to that because it is still developing as a title. So overall, it's a very strong game. I gave it a strong score overall, and I think it has huge potential for the channel, and I'm looking forward to uploading more. But yeah, overall, really pleased and surprised with this title. I didn't expect it to be so good. So that is the last game on my list. So we've reviewed every single game, and this is how it stacks up. In the A tier, we have City Skylines 1 with the highest score overall. In second place, we have Norland with a score of 85 and Kingdoms and Castles with an 83. They make up our A tier. In the B tier, with a strong 81, is City Skylines 2. Closely afterwards, we're looking at Manor with a score of 7.9. And then we're moving into Definitely Not Fried Chicken with a score of 7.1. The games that I slid into the C tier is Memoriapolis, Pharaoh, and Game Dev Tycoon. And that's my list. That is the list. And like I said, it's purely my opinion, and people might look at this going, I'm an absolute idiot, and I don't know what I'm talking about. But this is purely based on my gameplay experience, and obviously you can see that during the playthroughs, and I guess you can sense based on my enjoyment and the replayability of that too. So yeah, that is how my games of 2024 stacked up. I hope you have enjoyed this game review. I was thinking about doing it for a while, but then I and ahhed because it's quite polarizing sometimes putting a review out there. But I thought overall, based on the games I've uploaded, I don't think any of these scores will particularly be surprising. And I think it will be quite interesting to see what everybody else feels about them too. 2025 is naturally stacking up to be a huge year game-wise. Overall, obviously with the channel success of 10,000 subscribers, which is wild just even saying it. it's only the start for us. I've already got a list of games that I really want to develop into. Naturally, the channel's focused on strategy and city building for now, but I really want to start developing it into role play games and such. I'm going to start releasing member only content to the community. So if you're a loyal subscriber and such, you'll have member specific titles that I'll release. I'm going to start thinking about streaming too. I think with the long form content will probably appeal more to like the RPGs and such, because it's very hard to break up. Like I'm going to take an example, Baldur's Gate. That's going to be very hard for me to upload because it's just such a long game. It's going to be it'll take the whole damn channel for months. So I think the streaming kind of concept will really lead into that. Otherwise, though, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I really generally enjoyed doing this overall review of the year, and I'm going to do another one for 2025 because I'm going to be sticking around for a while, guys. So sorry, not sorry, depends if you like the channel or not. And if you have enjoyed the content and you want to see more of this, more of gaming and just my tomfoolery, make sure to subscribe, like the content, comment on your own opinions. Any games that you feel like I should play on the channel in the future, please let me know. I always want to take on suggestions from the community. But thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.